what do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is a mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea! Oh! Oh! My God! No!
Hey everybody, how we doing? It's that time of the year, it's that time of day, it's that time of the week, and what time is that? It is
OJ Simpson kills those two people so hard they stop making the Ford Bronco.
Yeah, it's OJ Simpson time. It's Thursday. It's our flashback to the OJ Simpson trial that took place about 27 years ago, somewhere around there. It's been a while, and that's what we're doing today. We're looking at the OJ Simpson trial, which we do every Thursday. For some reason, Thursday became the day that we watch old footage of the OJ Simpson trial. And why are we watching this? Because I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. This trial has happened so long ago that everybody has made up their mind. One way or the other, you think he's guilty, you think he's innocent, or you think he's guilty, but the prosecution did not fulfill their burden of proof to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty of the crime of murder. Whatever it is, I'm not trying to change your view. I'm not trying to change anything. What I'm showing you is what I think are some of the most amazing, some of the best, some of the absolute top-notch criminal defense lawyers in the history of mankind, in the history of defense lawyers that have walked planet Earth. And people say, oh, OJ Simpson bought his freedom because he hired these high-priced lawyers and all this stuff. So, yeah, because he had these lawyers that got him off. Look, here's the facts. The county of Los Angeles County, their district attorney's office spent, according to the audits, around $9 million to prosecute OJ Simpson. $9 million. On the other hand, OJ Simpson's budget, the auditors assessed that he spent, he was assessed approximately $6 million for his defense. So still, even though he was acquitted, the county lawyers spent more than $3 million more than his lawyers charged him for his defense. So what did his money do? It kind of leveled the playing field. That's what it did. He didn't buy it because he had these high-priced lawyers that could bamboozle the shit out of the... Oh, we're swearing way too early. He couldn't bamboozle the crap out of these lawyers for the prosecution. What he did, it was his $6 million almost balanced out the $9 million of the prosecutors. The government that wants to take away your life, the government that wants to take away your freedom, the government that wants to take away your rights has essentially an unlimited budget to do so. But what OJ Simpson's money did is it allowed him to almost level that playing field. And he was able to hire some of the most amazing expert witnesses, some of those most amazing defense lawyers. And that's what we're looking at, the defense lawyers. The defense lawyers in this case, specifically F. Lee Bailey, which we've been watching up to this point, and right now we're in the middle, we're not really in the middle, we're right at the beginning of the BARRY SCHECK cross-examination of Dennis Fung, which is, without a doubt, one of the greatest cross-examinations you will ever see in the history of recorded arguments. It's a slow burn. Over the course of the court hearings, it took 8.5 days. The direct examination was about a day, day and a half. But his cross-examination took 8.5 days to complete. And Dennis Fung, the LA County's, well, basically LA City's criminologist, the lead guy on the scene, was so bamboozled and overpowered and overwhelmed by the amazing cross-examination of BARRY SCHECK that after 8.5 days, he got off the stand and he shook the hands and hugged the defense team and OJ Simpson himself. That's how much they made him their biatch. Excuse me, kind of getting over my cold here. So there we go. That's what we're looking at. This defense, not to change your mind, but just to show you how some of the top-notch lawyers that have ever existed on planet Earth can sow the seeds of reasonable doubt in the minds of jurors. And you'll have to forgive the dog toy right over there. It's just kind of sitting there, and frankly, I can't get up to move it. So dog toy is like a permanent part of the show tonight, I guess. All right, there we are. That's the background. That's what we're doing. I don't want to change your opinion. Whatever your opinion is, whatever it is, I just want to show you some amazing, logical, fantastic lawyering that ultimately seeded reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury. I want you to, there's been so many crap cases lately, Brooks and, Elaine and the Amber Heard trial. And we got Ortiz in Texas, the border agent guy. We've got Courtney Clinton. I want you to see some real top-notch defense lawyering. That's why we're watching this. All right. So that's what we're doing today. But before we get into that, let's look at the weekend preview. What do we got coming up? I don't know. Tomorrow, we've got to talk about some Idaho stuff because there's a hearing that's going to take place in about an hour from now, 45 minutes from now, but it's not going to be broadcast live, so I'm not going to cover it. I will cover it tomorrow night. Well, tomorrow this time. It's my nighttime, probably most other people's morning or afternoon time. So about 24 hours from now, I'll be covering whatever happens in Idaho in the next couple of hours. It's not being shown live, so there's no reason to cover it live, and it'll be too late for me to cover after it's over because I need to sleep. It is now 11 p.m. here in Korea. The trials, the hearing on the Idaho murderer Koberger is supposed to start 45 minutes from now. So yeah. Anywho, there we go. What? I'm so asleep still. I thought Jeff had a wheelchair symbol on his hat. No, that's LG. That's an L and a G for the Lotte Giants. They're the local professional baseball team. The L for Lotte and G for Giant. It's not a wheelchair symbol. That's pretty funny, actually. All right. So that's what we've got coming up tomorrow. We're going to be doing some Idaho stuff. We're going to be doing some Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stuff. Maybe talk some Dana White. We're going to be doing just kind of a big generic thing that's going on. Next Monday will be Maritime Monday. And then next Tuesday, I want to talk about this Uvalde case. The Uvalde, if you remember the Uvalde shooting at the elementary school where the cops waited like 70-something minutes to go in and do something. Well, about 24 hours after it happened, the police chief, he did an interview. He did it like with the people that do the interviews for things like that. And he said some really horrific stuff. And I want to watch his interview. We'll probably do that on Tuesday or Wednesday next week. We'll also be doing some more of the suitcase murderer background stuff. Sarah Boone. That'll be fun. As weird as that is. And also at some point, I'm hoping to have the Pope of LawTube himself, Nick Rekieta, on the stream. We're trying to work out some time to do this. So hopefully next week, we'll have some time to get him on the stream for a couple of hours to talk about love, marriage, sex, dating, and kink. We'll just have to see how that goes. All right, that's kind of the weekend preview. It's not really set now. I have no idea what's going to happen in the order in which it's going to happen. Everything is fluid, but I'll keep you posted. If you want to find out exactly what's going on, make sure you follow me on Twitter at The Legal Vices at Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. Follow me there, and you'll be alerted to exactly what's going on. And as we go through the day, remember, guys, yesterday you guys were so awesome, so generous, and so kind and caring that we hit 33,000 viewers during the stream last night, to which I'm eternally grateful to all of you watching this. Right now, we're sitting at 33,041 subscribers. We're on our way to 50K. I have my goal. I want to hit 50K by May. If we can hit it well before May, boom. My 50,000 subscriber stream will be a 24-hour drunk stream. That's what I've decided I'm going to do. We'll be grifting and drinking for 24 hours straight, or until I just pass out and make an ass of myself on public on the channel. Today, for the poll, every day we have a poll so that we can figure out how you like and subscribe to me, because I'm interested. What makes you like me? What makes you hit that like button? What makes you hit that subscribe button? Today, as we're talking about the OJ Simpson trial, we've got 4 choices for you. So I'm assuming you're all going to hit that like button. Currently, we have 215 viewers, 123 likes, and 33,041 subscribers. So hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and then take the poll. This is one of these weird things. We've only got 127 likes, but we've got 139 votes. So somehow somebody's cheating. Somebody that hasn't liked this video has taken the poll. Don't do that. Like, subscribe, take the poll. And here's the poll questions today. I stabbed the like button and subscribe button, if I'm not already subscribed. Like OJ definitely did not stab Ron and Nicole, not Rob. So yeah, I stabbed the like button and subscribe button in exactly the way that OJ Simpson did not stab Ron and Nicole. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more, say no more. Or I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Jason Simpson didn't stab Ron and Nicole. That was a clearly, obviously, in no way possible allegation and rumor that OJ Simpson's military-trained son, who had a penchant for knives and did not like Nicole Simpson, certainly he didn't do it. So, yeah, cough, cough, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Jason Simpson didn't stab Ron and Nicole. Or number 3, I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Jason Voorhees wanted to stab them. Jason Voorhees, as you know, is the mask-wielding slayer from Halloween. I'm sorry, Friday the 13th. Halloween was Michael Myers. Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees, the man behind the mask, as Alice Cooper sang in the soundtrack to Friday the 13th, part 3, part 4. I can't remember which one Alice Cooper did the soundtrack to, but yes, I stabbed the like button, the subscribe button, like Jason Voorhees wanted to stab them. And the last choice, which is currently leading with 52% of the vote, I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Dennis Fung wanted to stab himself. Yep. All right. That's where we are with the poll. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed. Take the poll, and we'll see how that. We'll check back in an hour on the like and subscribe ratio and poll and see where we are. And until then, just know the poll is there for your extravaganza. What? Okay, Automac, you're funny. Automac says Jason was gay, mother issues. No, you can't say that. That's funny. Oh my God. All right. That's where Flux, I just realized our Explained is on Friday the 13th. Oh my God, you're right. Holy shit, you are correct. For those of you that don't know, I've been doing the Unexplained with people since I started this YouTube extravaganza. But this Friday, myself and Flux, right here, our very own mod and YouTube creator Flux, and Hannah Franz, we will be doing an Unexplained stream on Friday the 13th on Flux's channel. I'll put up a link on my here on YouTube, in my community. I'll put one up on Twitter, but we are going to be on Flux's channel at around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time on Friday the 13th to do an Unexplained stream. Spooky. We're going to do that. Hey, that is awesome. Yeah, it is Friday the 13th. Cool on that. Thank you so much for that super chat and that reminder, Flux. All right. That brings us up to where we need to be. We've got all the backstage stuff. We got all the background stuff out of the way. Got the like and the subscribe button thing all handled. Take the poll, and we've got all the pre super chats things out of the way. But Winter Soldier said I have a frozen Todger. Okay, Harry. Harry and Meghan, yeah, that's a line from the Spare, the book from Prince Harry, talking about his frostbitten Todger. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow morning. Dyer Morales says he's not late. Alarax arrives precisely when he's meant to, except for when he streams to himself for 15 minutes. Exactly. And King Ginger 333 says, Jeff, did you see the Korean drone show? What Korean drone show? There's lots of Korean drone shows. Every Friday and Saturday, they have a drone show right outside my window. There was a New Year's Eve drone show in Seoul on the Han River. Which drone show are you talking about? You were born on Friday the 13th. Of course you were, Tommy Holcomb. You reek of someone who was born on Friday the 13th. All right, that's where we are. Let's get into the OJ Simpson stuff because we got a lot of ground to cover. It's late here. It's 11:20. I had to start a little bit late today because I had an appointment, and I may or may not be above the legal limit to drive right now. Let's just put it that way. Had a few drinks before we started, so I'll do my best. Concurrent viewers right now, 228 viewers, 163 likes. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, take the poll, and let's get on with it. As I've always said, this is one of the least followed, one of the least presented things of the day, of the week. But I like it, and I think it's fascinating, so we do it anyway, despite the low count, the low viewer count, the low super chat count, the low like count, whatever it is. I do this anyway because I think it's fascinating. And to catch you up to date, where we are right now, previously in our previous episode, Dennis Fung was talking about the inexperience of his trainee, Ms. Mazzola, who collected a lot of the evidence in this case without him present. And we watched some videotapes of the evidence collection happening. And Dennis Fung was talking about how before he got to the stand, he had approximately 10 preparation sessions with the prosecution. And they took a video of the crime scene, which we're going to see a lot of over the next many, many weeks here. Dennis Fung, he directed a video of the crime scene. And they got him to admit that if you take a video of the crime scene, it's better than just taking a still picture of the crime scene, because you can see everything in a panorama, one take shot, and there's no question as to what was going on and what was present and what was absent at the time you made the video. And then they talked a lot about this paper. There was apparently the video showed a piece of paper on the driveway that Dennis Fung never collected. He has no idea what was on that piece of paper. It could have been just a blank piece of paper, or it could have been a piece of paper that said, "Hi, hello, I am the killer. I am the one that committed these murders. Here is my address and my telephone number. Please come and arrest me." We have no idea what this paper said because, one, Dennis Fung did not recognize, he did not see that piece of paper, and it was not collected because he did not think it was relevant at the time. However, he did pick up another clothing tag that was laying in the driveway. So he unilaterally determined what was relevant and what was not, and didn't collect this piece of paper that he only realized later. And that's where we start today. So if there's anything that anybody has to get out of the way, get it out of the way now, because we are going to dive in. Let's get right into the news. Let's get into the Dennis Fung testimony starting right now. Well, right now, as soon as I bring the screen up. How about that? All righty, let's go. Where's the other screen? Where's the screen? I can't find my screen. I have too many screens open. Here we go. And we are in now.
General sense, yes.
Can you give us a general sense of where it was located?
This is talking about the paper. The piece of paper he thought was not relevant.
Near the center of the walkway.
Well, Mr. Harris has a roving arrow, and perhaps you could direct it.
Lower, over more to the right.
And these videotapes of the crime scene are going to come back to bite him in the ass so hard over the next few weeks.
Now, that is the location where you found the Bonita Ecuador label.
Around there, yes.
All right. And you collected that.
Yes.
You thought that was relevant evidence.
I collected that at the request of Detective Lang.
So Detective Lang thought that was relevant evidence.
Yes.
Did you agree with his judgment?
Detective Lang was the lead investigator, the lead detective.
You didn't question it.
That's correct.
And generally speaking, Mr. Fung, you don't question the judgment of the homicide detectives, do you?
It's a little overbroad.
Sustain.
How's the volume, guys? Do we need to up the court
So you picked
volume,
up
or
the
is everything
Benita Ecuador
okay?
label, but you're telling us you're not sure whether or not you would have picked up the piece of paper in that photograph.
It's argument.
Sustain.
Okay, I guess we'll print that out and mark this. Maybe, should we put a BE over that little spot as Benita Ecuador?
Your Honor, I just think it's important. I don't know whether the telestrator does this, but I think it's important for the record to indicate what section of the photograph is blocked off. I don't know if that's done
Yes.
once they print it out.
It'll be on the print.
All right.
Yeah, we can't really hear the objections
Now,
because they're
Mr. Fung,
they're off microphone in the back of the
what
courtroom.
is trace evidence?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, we need to mark this. Why don't we make, since it is a copy of the People's Exhibit, let's make this 55A. $55B. All right,
Oh,
55B.
we great minds think alike. Nice.
A and B, great. All right.
Now,
Mr.
there
Scheck.
will be no goat video. The goat
What
video
in
has
your
been
judgment
retired.
is trace evidence? How do you define that term?
Trace evidence. Examples of trace evidence are hair, fiber, paint, chips of glass, mineral, soil, that type of thing.
Well, would you agree that trace evidence can be thought of as evidence occurring in sizes so small that it can be transferred between two surfaces without being noticed?
Some forms of trace evidence, yes.
Many forms.
Yes.
Hairs,
Yes.
fibers.
Yes.
And how do you define transfer evidence?
Yeah, I'm sure the Idaho alleged murderer Koberger would like to know how you define transfer evidence. Speak up, Fung. How do you define
I've
transfer
heard the
evidence?
term, but I can't give you the exact definition. I'd have to look it up.
Would you
Okay. Now, that is significant. The main criminologist on this murder scene cannot give you a definition of transfer evidence. He can't explain what transfer evidence is. He said he would have to look it up to be able to tell you what transfer evidence is. Yeah, that's not good.
agree that transfer evidence, strictly speaking, is evidence which is exchanged as a result of contact between two objects?
That can be one definition, yes.
And trace evidence, small hairs and fibers, can often be transfer evidence as well. In other words,
Yes.
yes. And that's something that you as a criminalist are very concerned about. Trace evidence.
Overbroad. I am
No,
concerned with
it's
trace
Rick
evidence, yes.
Moranis.
When you
Rick
approach a
Moranis was
crime
Honey,
scene,
I
you're
Shrunk the
very
Kids,
concerned
not
about
Mike
trace evidence
Moranis.
because it is fragile.
Yes, it's literally
and
just a
because it can be
trace of
easily
evidence.
transferred from one object to the other if the criminalist or others on the scene are not careful.
Yes.
And there is something known as secondary transfer. Is there not?
I've heard that term also.
And would secondary transfer refer to a situation where trace evidence could get on a person's clothing or, let's say, a towel, for example, then be transferred to another location and fall off on another object of evidence. That would be a secondary transfer.
Yes, Barry Scheck is wearing an amazing pinstripe suit with a great
And as a
tie.
criminalist, you are very concerned about not contaminating a crime scene with trace evidence by way of a secondary transfer.
If it is a crime scene where trace evidence is.
Now, look, I want you to all go back and appreciate this again. This question and answer right here. This is bad news. Hang on here. Let me scoot us back a little bit. Oh, this is, God dang it. This is court TV. We can't just do the back arrow. Let's go back. Just what do we got here? Go back about that far. Listen carefully to the question asked and the length of time it takes Dennis Fung to answer a ridiculously simple question.
There is something known as secondary transfer. Is there not?
I've heard that term also.
And would secondary transfer refer to a situation where trace evidence could get on a person's clothing or, let's say, a towel, for example, then be transferred to another location and fall off on another object of evidence?
So literally the question is about secondary transfer evidence, which says I'm at a crime scene or I'm someplace and then some evidence gets stuck on me, a hair, some blood, some skin cells, whatever it is from place A gets on me, a shirt, a towel, a bag, whatever. And then I go to location B and that hair, that skin cell, that's those skin cells, the whatever it is falls off of me into location B. That seems like a very natural, obvious, yes, that is a possibility. To get for evidence on me from point A, I go to point B and then it falls off in point B. All he has to say is yes. But watch how long it takes him to answer that question.
That would be a secondary transfer.
Yes.
And as a criminalist, you are very concerned. So
it took him like a few heartbeats too many. And now the question is, as a criminologist, clearly you're very concerned about the possibility this might happen. And then the answer takes a lot longer.
About not contaminating a crime scene with trace evidence by way of a secondary transfer.
It's clearly obvious you wouldn't want to contaminate a crime scene with secondary trace evidence transfer. It's clearly obvious you don't want to do that. But this is how long it takes him to answer that question, yes. And he doesn't even really answer it.
Keep thinking. If it is a crime scene where trace evidence is of significance, yes.
This was a crime scene where trace evidence was significant.
Oops.
Gotcha,
Certain
bitch.
aspects of the crime scene were important for trace evidence, yes.
The small area at Bundy where the two victims were found, that area was one of concern with respect to trace evidence.
Oof.
Areas within what you described were very important for trace evidence.
Very
yes.
important. Very important in terms of the.
Why is Dennis Fung allowing Barry Scheck to essentially testify here? Well, if only in situations where secondary evidence transfer is important. He's like, it's very important in this case. Oh, Fung. Again, all of this could have been avoided with some proper answers on Dennis Fung's part. And this is literally the morning of the second day. And in real court trial times, we have 6-7 days left to go. And it gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on. Yikes.
Clothes of the victims.
Yes.
Very important in terms of that glove that was found at Bundy.
Yes.
Very important in terms of that knit hat.
Yes.
Very important in terms of all the physical objects that surrounded the victims in that very small enclosed crime scene.
That's overbroad.
Over.
Some items of evidence tend to be more useful for trace evidence than others.
Well, these were items that you anticipated as soon as you got there would be important in terms of trace evidence.
Sustained.
The glove, the hat, the clothing of the victims, the objects surrounding the victims. As soon as you arrived at the crime scene and saw all of that, you knew these objects would be important in terms of collecting them for trace evidence.
Still vague and overbroad as to the
Sustained.
objects.
When you say objects all around, I mean, that's way too vague. Just stick with the specifics.
We'll stick with the specifics. Thank you, Your Honor. The glove, the hat, the clothing of the victims, all those were important in terms of trace evidence.
Yes.
Now, when you arrived at the crime scene, you saw that there was a blanket over the body of Nicole Brown Simpson.
I don't know. I don't recall being there that soon. When I got there, the body of Miss Simpson was being processed.
When was the first time you saw the blanket?
I saw the blanket when it was on the ground.
Now, this is in relation to a piece of evidence. After, when they came on the scene of this double homicide, they took a blanket from inside Nicole Brown Simpson's house and covered her with it. So what they're saying is that what they're not saying, what they're implying is that OJ had been over to the house and had likely been in contact with this blanket. So therefore, evidence from OJ would be on this blanket. Hair, skin cells, whatever would be on this blanket. And then you would place this blanket over one of the bodies. And the evidence that, this secondary trace evidence, this stuff that was on the blanket already now becomes part of the evidence on the body because it transfers from OJ to the blanket and the blanket to the body. That's where they're saying, in other words, why the hell would you take a blanket out of the house and cover one of the victims with it? Why wouldn't you cover them with something from your criminologist van? Why wouldn't you cover them with something from somewhere else? Why would you take something that was so potentially contaminated with evidence or with DNA or cell samples or hair samples or whatever from inside her house and place it on the body? And Fung has lots of problems answering this question.
It was on the ground in the area where Miss Simpson's body was.
Yes.
And you came to learn in your investigation that day that the blanket had been used to cover the body.
Yes.
And you came to learn that that blanket had come from the home of Nicole Brown Simpson.
I did not know that.
Have you found that out?
Since then, yes.
And did you make any inquiry on that day about where that blanket had come from?
No, I didn't.
And would you agree, sir, that a blanket of that kind is a possible source of secondary transfer?
Possibly.
And that if Mr. Simpson had been in that home and been lying on that blanket, his hairs could be in that blanket.
Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Yeah, Scheck is a damn genius, as Therese Majestic. As I'm saying, this literally, no joking aside, no hyperbole aside, as we watch over it seems like some of the parts of his cross-examination might be slow or whatnot, but he is asking questions now that will spring a trap 4, 5, 6, or 7 days from now. Barry Scheck's mind is an amazing steel trap. And for those of you that don't know Barry Scheck, he founded the Innocence Project. They're the ones that get all of these people that are on death row released through DNA evidence and other evidence that proves they were not guilty. So he gives, the Innocence Project is the one that whenever you read the stories of someone who was found not to have been guilty by DNA evidence like 27, 30, 40 years after the crime happened, that's usually because the Innocence Project that Barry Scheck founded was involved. He has a mind like a steel trap. And again, not to belabor the point, but this cross-examination is quite literally one of the greatest cross-examinations you will ever see in your life. So it goes beyond Barry Scheck. And it sounds like I'm fanboying for Barry Scheck, but I am. I really am, because this is the best cross-examination I have ever seen. And yeah, I mean, let's go.
Well, within your expertise, is that the kind of blanket that if somebody were sitting on it, lying on it, one would expect to find hairs that they had shed on the blanket?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Well, in your expertise as a criminalist, do you have to make judgments about different kinds of items that can be sources of possible secondary transfer?
Yes.
You have to worry about such objects being brought into crime scenes.
Yes.
You have to be worried about such objects being brought into crime scenes because they can be a source of contamination.
Yes.
And if this blanket had hairs from Mr. Simpson, that could have been brought to the crime scene by way of putting the blanket there.
No objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Sam, shame on you. Michelle Cavernous says, let's do this, motherfucker. Yep.
Assuming that Mr. Simpson had been in the home at Bundy and on a number of occasions had sat or lay on that blanket and shed hairs on that blanket, and then that blanket was taken and put right in the middle of this crime scene, in your expert opinion, could that be a source of cross-contamination of Mr. Simpson's hairs to this crime scene?
Your Honor, I make this an objection. Can we approach?
Yes, with the court reporter. All right, thank you, counsel. Proceed. And I think I've already instructed the jury as to hypothetical questions.
Thank you. Mr. Fung.
So I get the objection was probably this is a hypothetical situation. A hypothetical situation is not evidence. However, it can be indicative of a pattern of facts or whatnot, or common sense that that can be used as a goalpost, as a mile marker or whatever for the average common person to agree on whatever it is being said. So essentially, hypotheticals can be used to demonstrate evidence, but it can't be used as evidence itself.
Again, assuming that Mr. Simpson had been in the Bundy residence, had sat or lay on that blanket, shed hairs on that blanket, and that blanket was taken, put.
Alfred, your super chat is up next.
Could that, in your expert opinion, be a source of secondary transfer of his hairs to the crime scene?
It's possible.
Swan Lake,
Possible?
no.
Yes.
No.
All right. And that would be what is known as contamination of the crime scene.
Yes.
And if Mr. Simpson or any of his children or Miss Nicole Brown Simpson had been in Mr. Simpson's Ford Bronco, picked up fibers from that Bronco, and at some point in time sat or lay on that blanket, there could be fibers from the Bronco on that blanket.
Objection calls for speculation, Your Honor.
Rephrase the question.
Could there be, in your expert opinion, assuming that Mr. Simpson or his children or Miss Nicole Brown Simpson had been in Mr. Simpson's Ford Bronco and gotten fibers from that Bronco on their clothing at some point in time, and then at some other point in time sat or lay on that blanket, fibers could be shed from the Bronco to the blanket?
Your Honor, there's
Yes.
no foundation calls for speculation.
Overruled. This is another hypothetical question.
Premise of a hypothetical. Are you with me so far?
It's kind of hard to follow, but
No, it's not. Can fibers from the Bronco end up on a
And
blanket in Nicole
if,
Simpson's house? That's the question. It's not difficult.
A dog. Have you seen this dog, Cato?
the canine? No.
See, and now this is funny. They have Kato Kalin, the goofy loafer who was sort of freeloading and living in the guest house there on Simpson's place. They also named the dog Kato after the guy. He was a just shiftless loser. They named the dog after him. Oh shoot! I just unsubscribed. I just unstarred this thing here. We gotta scroll back to Sparman super chat here as soon as I can find it. Sorry. I was trying to bring it up and I accidentally. Here we go. Screw the low viewer count. This is my favorite series on this channel. The only one I watched everything for, and the only one I watch while working. Oh, come on. You should watch me every other day while you're working, too. Don't just watch me on Thursday mornings. Watch me every day. Listen to me every day while you're working. So, thank you for that, Alfred Sparman. But, 1 out of 6 ain't that. 1 out of 7 ain't that great. Or 1 out of 5, I guess, is when I broadcast. So. But I appreciate you watching me for this one day. Hopefully you'll watch me for the other days as well. Corn Pope says, didn't Fung go to school? This guy is intimidating him so much that he's forgetting his own job. And we're only getting started. This is literally one day in, and there's still 7.5 more to go. The body contest, thank you so much for the super chat. Jeff, have you heard of Glenn Rogers? No. He apparently worked for OJ at the time of the murder, and some claim him to have been the killer by contract. Interesting. I've heard that his son Jason may have done it, which is why Jason is mentioned in the chat as someone who definitely didn't do it. But I haven't heard of this other guy. Eva Torres, why are there no objections? There's a lot of objections when they're appropriate, and they're getting about a 30% success rate on the objections, I would guess. Tourette's Majestic. I'm literally not even shocked OJ was. This is like 3 chats here that I found were interesting that sort of cover the whole gamut of things. I'm literally not even shocked OJ was acquitted anymore, like at all, because you can see how reasonable doubt could have been implanted in the minds of the jurors. And then we also have King Ginger who says the Innocence Project is a fraud. Interesting take. And GB who says Scheck is awesome. His client not so much. Fair enough take. And the chosen one, the trick to setting landmines. As we were talking about him setting landmines with his questioning, the trick to setting landmines is remembering where you put them. Exactly. All right, on that note, let's move forward.
Cato the dog.
I'll be right back.
No,
Hang on.
In the course of your involvement in this case, you've never seen a dog named Cato?
No, I haven't.
Not at the Rockingham location at some point when you did subsequent searches? Did you see this dog, Cato?
I don't know the dog by name.
Well, were you told that there was a dog that was owned by Mr. Simpson that was involved in this case in some connection?
Objection calls for hearsay and irrelevant.
Overruled. I know that there was a dog involved in the case somehow, but I couldn't identify that dog for you.
And again, as a basis for this hypothetical, can you assume that if a dog were lying on this blanket in question or moving on this blanket in question, that dog hairs can be transferred to the blanket?
Your Honor, it's irrelevant, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Yes.
You can answer the
All
question.
right. And the dog itself may have hairs and fibers from other people with whom it has been in contact.
Yes.
That happens, right? In your judgment.
It's possible.
And assuming that to be the fact, that a dog could have shed fibers and hairs on the blanket, and
So many
people who had been
hypotheticals.
the children of Mr. Simpson himself, and Miss Nicole Brown Simpson had been in and out of the Bronco and been on that blanket. Hairs and fibers.
Now, again, these are just a whole bunch of theoretical scenarios that BARRY SCHECK is pushing. Why is he doing this? Basically to say, you screwed up. The police, the detectives, whoever put that blanket there really, really screwed up by taking out a blanket from the house and putting it on the body, because you could very, very likely have contaminated this evidence with hair from the dogs, things from the kids, from OJ himself, from anyone who ever had contact with that blanket may have had DNA on the blanket, which got transferred to the bodies. This is all he's doing with this amazing array of hypotheticals he's throwing at Dennis Fung right now.
Fibers from the dog and from the Bronco could be on that blanket.
It's quite a lot for me to
Quite a lot, huh?
Assess.
Assess.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just asking you to, let's just assume all that occurred and those fibers are on that blanket. All right?
Okay.
You with me?
Yes.
Then if that blanket was transferred and put right into the middle of the crime scene, there is a chance of secondary transfer of those hairs and fibers across this crime scene.
Yes, there's a chance.
As a general principle, as a criminalist, you try at all costs to avoid taking an object that could have lots of hairs and fibers on it and putting it right into the middle of a crime scene, don't you?
That's correct.
That's a terrible mistake from the point of view of a criminalist, isn't it?
Yes.
Right there. That, in day 2 of his questioning, is an immense admission. Wasn't that putting the blanket from the house into the middle of the crime scene? Wasn't that a terrible mistake? Yes, it was.
Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, that's rough. Dennis Fung just admitted that that was a terrible mistake as far as a criminologist is concerned. And this is just the beginning.
And it's a terrible mistake, particularly when bodies are being removed and they're being dragged into the same area where that blanket was.
It can be, yes.
Because that creates a situation where you can have cross-contamination of the fibers from the blanket, and it can come into contact with the clothing of Nicole Brown Simpson.
Your Honor, I think it's unintelligible at this point.
What do you mean it's unintelligible? This is beautiful questioning.
Could you repeat the last part of this?
We've agreed that it was a terrible mistake to put this blanket into the middle of the crime scene, haven't we?
Your Honor, that mistakes the testimony.
I'm asking you.
Flux.
Oh, we're talking about a hypothetical here.
Well, now let's talk specifically.
Okay.
This blanket.
Lube is very
It was a
important,
terrible
Flux.
mistake to put this blanket from inside the house into the middle of the crime scene because of the dangers of cross-contamination of hairs and fibers.
Argumentative and vague is the word terrible mistake.
Oh, good ruling.
Depending on how clean the blanket was, that would affect my answer.
Terrible, very terrible.
Well, if you had no idea how clean the blanket was, wouldn't it still be a terrible mistake to bring a blanket from inside the house right into the middle of the crime scene?
That is such a beautiful question. Fung thought he was being clever with that answer. It wouldn't be a terrible mistake to introduce this blanket into the middle of the crime scene, which Fung already admitted was a terrible mistake. But now he's like, well, it depends how clean the blanket is. That quickly, BARRY SCHECK bends him over the barrel with well, you didn't know how clean this blanket was, so therefore isn't this a terrible mistake? You can't get out of that. Fung would just funged up.
I would prefer that it was not done.
I would prefer that it was not done.
Was it not, let's start with this, a mistake?
Was it a mistake to put the blanket there?
Well, Counsel, you've already asked the question now several times. You've gotten 3 or 4 definitive answers.
Well, Your Honor, I
agree. Terrible mistake, preference not to have been done. I think you've established the point.
think he's back to possible now.
No, you've
All
got
right.
your record. Proceed.
I'll move on. Assuming that this blanket, but you had no way of knowing whether that blanket was clean or had fibers on it and hairs, right?
That's correct.
Oof.
And let's just assume that it did, and even a blanket that appears to be clean can have lots of hairs and fibers on it because the nature of trace evidence is that you really can't see it with the naked eye.
Some trace evidence you can see with the naked eye.
Well, this kind of trace evidence, hairs and fibers, are often not noticed.
You have to look carefully, yes.
So you could look at a blanket and think it was clean, and it could be just full of hairs and fibers.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Possibly. It will have fibers because that's what most blankets are made of.
Hairs and fibers from other sources than just what was made up of the blanket itself.
Possibly, yes.
I mean, and one goes about looking for the hairs and fibers later with a strong stereo microscope to pick them up, right?
Sometimes, yes.
Now, based on your observations at the crime scene that day, Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's body was in the area of that blanket.
Yes.
And Mr. Goldman's body was eventually placed in the area of that blanket.
Yes.
And assuming that blanket had hairs and fibers and other trace evidence on it, that could be a source of contamination of anything that was subsequently found on Mr. Goldman's clothing.
I believe the coroner's personnel had placed a sheet and a plastic sheet over the blanket before placing him on it.
Well, given the nature of transfer, just the fact that the blanket is there, even if they put a plastic sheet over it, isn't there a grave danger from the point of view of the criminalist of these secondary transfers occurring when Mr. Goldman's body is put there?
Yes.
It's vague as to the term grave danger.
Sustain.
All right,
You also forgot the sheet.
let's start it this way. If the people, there were 2 individuals from the coroner's office that were involved in moving the body,
Yes.
and Detective Lang was present at the time that the body was moved.
Yes.
And Detective Lang could have come in contact with the blanket.
Well, Your Honor, this calls for speculation.
Sustain.
Assuming Detective Lang came in contact with the blanket, could his clothing be a source of secondary transfer from the blanket to Mr. Goldman's clothing?
Objection, improper hypothetical, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Give the prosecution like props for making objections as fast and
If he was
furiously as
not
possible.
careful, yes.
Could Mr. Jacobo from the coroner's office, the man we've seen, he was in a blue suit, right? That day?
I don't know him
The
personally.
man in the blue suit from the coroner's office,
The jumper suit?
the jumper suit.
Okay.
If his clothing or body or hands came into contact with that blanket, he could have been a source of the secondary transfer of hairs and fibers from the blanket to Mr. Goldman's clothing.
Possibly.
Miss Ratcliffe from the coroner's office as well. She was the woman investigator from the coroner's office. You recall her?
I recall there being two personnel there, yes.
Right. You remember an African-American woman? You remember seeing her there from the coroner's office?
Yes.
She was the one that had the gray shoes.
I don't remember her shoes.
You've seen her on the video?
Yes.
Same with her, right? Same answer? That if she came in contact with the blanket, she could have been a source of secondary transfer.
Eric, shame on you. Shame on
Possibly.
you, Eric.
All right. If you came in contact with the blanket, you could have been a source of secondary transfer.
To
To Mr. Goldman's clothing?
I was not in that area when the bodies were being processed.
You were not in the area where Mr. Goldman's body was?
Not on the blanket.
I'm sorry?
Not on the blanket. Not that I recall.
I mean, were you in that area where the blanket was and then went over to the area where Mr. Goldman's body was?
Well, it's phased time.
It's a stain.
At any point before Mr. Goldman's body was moved, did you walk through the area where the blanket was to the area where Mr. Goldman's body was?
I don't recall if I did or not. I don't think I did.
This blanket could have been a source of getting, assuming that the blanket had been covered with hairs and fibers from people within the home, that blanket could then have been a source of secondary transfer to the hairs and the fibers in the whole area of that walkway, that area where Miss Simpson's body was found.
Possibly.
And if an object such as the glove or the hat at Bundy were dragged out into that walkway, they could have become contaminated by hairs and fibers from the blanket.
Improper hypothetical called
It's a stain.
Assuming the blanket was covered with hairs and fibers and
Now, see, Barry is getting a lot of his objections sustained. Well, the prosecution's objections against Barry Scheck's questionings, these hypotheticals, a lot of them are getting sustained. But this is the interesting thing. This goes back to the theory of you can't unring a bell. He's just putting all of these theories in front of the jury about what may have happened, what could have happened, how the blanket could have been contaminated and whatnot. Even if the objections get sustained, the jury has still heard these questions. And in sustaining an objection, they don't get an answer to those questions, and they want an answer to those questions. So this is an amazingly effective strategy by Barry Scheck to ask questions he knows are leading or knows will be objected to, which means he asks some questions that the jury might want the answers to. But the judge essentially says, you can't ask that question. And Barry Scheck has to move on. But the jury is still left wondering what the answer to that question was. And Janet Burris asks, is Fung playing dumb or is he really this obtuse? No, he's not dumb. He's not obtuse. He's just trying to outthink one of the greatest legal minds on planet Earth. He's trying to think he's smarter than the defense lawyer rather than just answering the questions. Yeah.
that was placed in the middle of the crime scene, and hairs and fibers from the blanket were spread out from the crime scene. And assuming further that the glove and or the hat was dragged into that area when Mr. Goldman's body was moved, they could have become contaminated with hairs and fibers from the blanket.
Same approach.
Oh, well.
That's funny, chosen one. That's really funny.
Possibly.
You saw this blanket at the scene throughout the afternoon when you were processing the Bundy crime scene.
Yes.
And when you left, the blanket was left there.
Yes.
You
and it was
can't
not
say that.
picked up.
That's correct.
It had blood on it.
Yes, it did.
Frankly, for all you know, it could have had cellular material from people in the Simpson household who had lain on the blanket or sat on the blanket.
Possibly.
You know what I mean by cellular material?
He means semen, cum.
Material which
Just
would
cum all
have
over the
DNA
blanket.
evidence on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Saliva.
I don't think you're talking
Could
about
have-
saliva.
It had it have saliva evidence
Yeah,
on it?
no, saliva is a source of DNA evidence.
Now counsel's testifying.
Rephrase the question.
Is saliva a source of DNA evidence?
I'm not a DNA expert.
Spit on me, Barry.
Can't
Spit
tell
on
you
the
that.
blanket.
Well, in your training as a criminalist, have you been instructed that
You're all part of the
saliva
same
can be a-
tribe. You're
when
all
spread
the
over a
chosen
surface,
ones, plural.
can be a source of evidence for future DNA analysis?
I know it can be analyzed, but I'm not a DNA person. I don't know if saliva can be. Maybe something in the saliva that's associated with it can be, but I don't know if saliva itself is subject to DNA analysis.
Well, saliva, have you ever heard the term amylase?
I've heard the term. I don't know what it is, though.
Do you know whether or not saliva contains cells from the inside of one's mouth?
It can.
All right. And do you know, has anybody ever told you whether or not the cells from the saliva, the cells from the inside of one's mouth can be a source of evidence for purposes of DNA analysis?
The cells inside the mouth can be, yes.
And you even heard of exemplars being taken where someone would put a cotton swab and swab the inside of someone's mouth to take a representative sample for purposes of DNA testing.
Of the cells, yes.
Yes. And the cells from inside the mouth, you would expect, based on your own knowledge, would be in saliva and a source of DNA analysis.
I don't know how easily the cells from the mouth are transmitted into saliva. I've never done a study on it, and
You
I've
never
never
sucked
worked
on a blanket,
serology.
Fung?
From your own common sense, would you expect that saliva contains cells from?
Well, at this point, given his answers, we're speculating.
Okay. Okay. This blanket, which one? Would you agree, looking back, that this blanket could have been a source of trace evidence?
Yes.
Right. And would you agree it would be important to know if that blanket contained hairs and fibers from Mr. Simpson, Miss Nicole Brown Simpson, their children, or the dog Cato?
Objection, Your Honor. It's argument that it's the word important.
Oh,
Yes.
It would be important to know if that blanket contained fibers that would be consistent with Mr. Simpson's Bronco.
Possibly, yes.
Important if it even had hairs or fibers that were consistent with Mr. Goldman, if he'd ever been in the house and lain or sat on that blanket.
Ooh.
Possibly.
But that blanket was left at the crime scene and never picked up for future analysis.
It's correct.
That was a mistake, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It could be considered one.
They didn't collect the blanket. that they used to cover one of the bodies that had been taken from the house. Wow. Well, we are here in the midstream grift here. 1 hour and 5 minutes into this. Currently, we have for an OJ Simpson day, 374 concurrent viewers is just about normal, and 273 likes. Cool. Our chat poll so far: the I stabbed the like and subscribe button. Like one. Following in fourth place is like Jason Simpson didn't stab Ron and Nicole. In second place, I stabbed the like button and subscribe button. Like OJ did not stab Ron and Nicole. He's acquitted. He didn't do it. And number three, well, I guess number two, I stabbed the like button and the subscribe button like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th wanted to stab them. And in the lead with 52% of the vote thus far, I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Fung likely wants to stab himself. Yeah, that's the poll. Those of you that are joining midstream, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And if you have hit the subscribe button previously, make sure you are still subscribed. And then go over and take our poll and let us know why and how you hit that like button. The poll will end at the end of the stream about an hour from now. But in the meantime, it's there for you to take advantage of and to cast your vote as to why and how you hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, let's see. How are we doing here? Let's clear off. We have a bunch of super chats and other chats to get through here. As soon as I can find a way to pull up the screen here. There's too many screens open and it's hard to focus on one of them. Here we go. Scratch my neck and we are off. Here we go. Jim Satala. Hey, welcome, Jim. Nice to see you here. Legal Vices, the OJ trial and verdict is a great litmus test that I use to determine if someone is capable of critical thinking or if they're an NPC who just believes whatever the media tells them. Exactly. It's not a question of whether or not you think he actually did it. The question is whether or not the prosecution proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed the murder. That's the question. Those are two very different questions. Whether you did it and whether the government can prove you did it are different questions. And how effective was the defense in convincing the jury that the prosecution didn't meet their burden of proof? The defense does not have to prove that he didn't do it. They just have to show that the prosecution, the state, didn't fulfill their duty. They didn't fulfill their burden of proof. So that is a very, very good statement, Jim, or thanks for making it. Eva Torres, OJ didn't need a fleet of lawyers. Well, if he didn't have the funds to purchase the services of these lawyers, it may have been a very, very different outcome. If it was Joe Schmo off the streets, it definitely would have been a different outcome. Tourette's Majestic, Fung just handed Scheck a paddle and bent over. Oh, this paddling goes on for days. Days and days and days. That body count, in the words of ex-White Sox manager Ozzie Killen, Fung is winning and winning is Fung. I don't think that's exactly how that quote went. Eric Folmes, well, her head was in that area. Her body was elsewhere. Yikes. Yeah. Execution. My favorite color is red, like the bloodshed from Ron Nicole's neck when OJ made them dead. That's some funny shit right there. If you know, you know. Oh my God, that actually hurts my face. That is funny. So we got some Eminem lyrics here in the house. Love you, Jeff, says Lacey. And not on a plane. Crime scene investigation has come a long way because of this trial. Exactly. People didn't consider trace evidence and wearing covers on shoes till the early noughties. No, yeah, exactly. There was a lot of changes that came from this trial. Not only legal but social changes as well. Like the one we talked about during the when we reviewed all of the Mark Furman testimony. The fact that today we refer to the N-word as the N-word came directly out of this trial. The fact that Dennis Fung dropped the hard R N-bomb so many times that the black prosecutor, Chris Darden, refused to use the N-word and started calling it the N-word. So, I mean, there was a lot of legal change, a lot of procedural change, and a lot of social change that came out of this trial. And that's one of the things we're showing here. So, I'm still laughing. I'm still laughing at the Eminem lyrics there. Michelle says, that's what I've always thought. Even if the judge instructs the jury to ignore a statement, they still heard it. Yeah, that is why we, in the legal field, we say you cannot unring a bell. Once you've rung the bell, or once you've asked the question, you can't pretend you didn't hear it. Achio Megapine says, be honest, Jeff, Barry Schcheck is your man crush. He's my law crush. He's not my man crush. He's my law crush. Winter Soldier Jeff contaminates his blanket dreaming of Schcheck. Go to hell. Lena, if you're here, did that offend you? I'm sorry if that offended you, Lena. Lacey, Legal Vice says Schcheck is explaining how saliva is DNA evidence to Fung, aka the criminologist. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you got to consider this is when DNA evidence was literally in its infancy. This is brand new territory here. In the opening statements, when Marcia Clark was trying to show from the state's point of view what DNA evidence was, she could only refer to a movie that had just recently, I mean, very recently come out before this trial started. I think it actually may have come out during, I think it was right before the trial. Anyway, it was Jurassic Park. She was talking about DNA evidence and collecting DNA evidence and sampling DNA evidence like Jurassic Park. So like people literally had no clue or a very, very small clue as to what DNA evidence was in 1995 when this trial was happening. So yeah, we've come such a huge, huge long way in so many respects since this trial took place. I'm old. I'm so old. Execution says Slim Jeff right there. Will the real Slim Jeff please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. Will the real Slim Jeff please stand up? I'm not standing up because pants are prison. All right, let's get back into this. We've done our midstream grift. Reminding you again, once again, the poll is there. Hit that like button. The subscribe button is there if you haven't already hit the subscribe button. We currently have 33,041 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button and then take our poll. And we'll review the poll an hour from now at the end of our stream. Until then, let's get fungy with it. Oh, it's so quiet. Oh, so quiet.
And so you've observed the videos,
Yes.
and have you seen in any videos that the blanket over over on Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's back, her body, when it was still at the crime scene?
I've never seen videos of that, no.
You've never seen a video that seemed to with the blanket over her back?
Ooh, I snorted. Sorry. That was almost DSP-esque.
I may have. I don't recall specifically if I have or not.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, that was me singing Bjork from her album debut. Great album, by the way. It's oh so quiet.
at this point, I'd want to show Mr. Fung a video. Do you want to look at it first?
Come on, lean
Mr.
to
Goldberg can
ra
put it on the monitor. I
ra
think it's
to
actually
la
the segment you sent us.
We can
Come on,
view it on
oh,
council's monitor
great.
without displaying it to the jury.
All right, we got to show some evidence here on the screen. We don't get to see it.
Are we familiar with this segment?
Tooraloo-ra, tooraloo-ra,
All right, let's proceed.
Great song. Come on, Eileen is one of my faves. Never go full DSP. Never, ever go full DSP. Yes, that's an overhead projector. That is a that is like one of the old school rockin' projectors and that was high tech. You had the red, blue, and green lenses projecting things. That was a high tech overhead projector. And this right here is just your basic. This is your basic bitch overhead projector here.
Mr. Fung, that you've just viewed. You've seen this before.
That wasn't
haven't
like
you?
the big projector.
I don't know if I've seen it in its entirety, but I've seen portions of it.
Yes. Now, that is
Elmo. Yeah,
Detective
they've
Lang
named
talking
the
with
overhead
Miss Ratcliffe
Elmo.
from the coroner's office.
Yes.
And that's Detective Lang putting the blanket down over Ms. Simpson.
Oh yeah, we had an Eileen in my school too.
Now, looking at this segment, see if you can tell us, if you recall, let's stop it right there, okay? Now.
All right, that's at 1:18:17:17.
Spooky.
At this point, do you know which of the two victims was being removed by the coroner's office at this point in time?
To the best of my recollection, that was Mr. Goldman.
And how long had you been at the scene before this took place, to the best of your recollection?
Approximately 5-10 minutes.
And when you got to the scene, Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's body had not yet been removed from the scene.
She was in the process of being moved.
But when you say that, had she been turned over on her back?
Well, cause of speculation.
Over.
Turned over on her back. I believe so.
Well, when you got to the crime scene, did you ever have an opportunity to see Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's body in the condition, in the position where you were informed it was originally found?
I don't believe so.
So by the time you got there, she had been already, her body had already been turned over on its back by the coroners.
I believe so, yes.
So you never got an opportunity to see her back, exposed
Baby
back.
got back.
That's correct.
You never got an opportunity to see any blood drops on her back.
That's correct.
And if you had seen those blood drops on her back, you would have been able to swatch them and remove them for future biological analysis.
Well, it's irrelevant as to whether you'd be able to.
Over.
The collection of evidence on the body is the jurisdiction of the coroner.
But working together, the coroners, the detectives, and the criminalists can decide that it would be useful for the criminalist to collect evidence from a body found at a homicide scene.
No.
It's possible. Usually the coroner will have his own, or the coroner's department has their own criminalist, though.
But the coroner's department criminalist wasn't there.
That's correct.
And this is already 10:15 in the afternoon, in the morning?
Yes,
And the coroner's office didn't have their criminalist there.
that's correct.
And you were the only criminalist at the scene,
Yeah, no, Miss Mazzola was there also.
and Miss
Oh!
Mazzola, right?
Ms. Mazzola was a
And
trainee.
Chief
She wasn't a
Forensic
criminalist.
Chemist Johnson.
And between that Chief Forensic Chemist Johnson, he's a supervisor, right?
Yes, he is.
And we're going to see him, you've seen him in videos. He's a heavy-set guy in a blue blazer.
Very tall also.
Tall, okay.
Tall and fat.
Now, given the fact that you're the criminalist at the scene, if there had been no coroner's criminalist at the scene, wouldn't it have been your responsibility to remove the blood drops from Nicole Brown Simpson's back?
Not necessarily, no.
Well, if the criminalist from the coroner's office isn't there, and you're not going to do it, who could do it?
The it might wait until the body was transported back to the coroner's office and it would be done there.
But Mr. Fung, if the body
He's
is
not
turned
heavy.
over
He's my
on its
brother.
back, on her back, that could
Some good bread songs for
smear,
you
cause
ancients in the
and
crowd.
contaminate those blood drops.
It's possible.
And wouldn't it be the wise practice, the sound practice, to have a criminalist, be it from the coroner's office or SID, remove those blood drops before Ms. Simpson was turned over on her back?
It'd be preferable.
Preferable?
Yes.
Well, if it wasn't
He
going to
ain't
be
heavy,
done
he's my
by a
brother,
criminalist
my
at the
bread.
scene, be it from your office or the coroner's office, and she's turned over on the back, it's not going to happen, right?
Sustain.
Well, Mr. Fung, it's your testimony that you were at the scene too late to remove those blood drops from her back before she was turned over.
Baby got back?
When you got there,
I like big
she
butts
was
and I
already turned
cannot
over on her
lie.
back.
You other brothers can't deny. The Whitney girl walks in with a itty bitty waist and a big round thing in your face. I get sprung. Oh, sorry, with different. Sorry.
I believe so.
Let's watch the trial. Sorry.
Well, when she's turned over on her back, well, withdrawn. The blanket that was on her back before she was turned over,
Shame
that
on me.
might contain transfers of the blood from her back.
Possibly.
Because
And
I'm
that could have
broken.
been
I'm
analyzed
broken, Bobby.
if it had been secured, brought back to the laboratory.
Yes.
And if that analysis, withdrawn. Okay, let's get back to the picture.
You shifting,
So-
shifting right now?
I'm sorry?
Are you shifting or you want to finish?
I'm going, I did a segue. I'm sorry. Going right back to the video.
I need to change court reporters.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
Okay, we got to
All right,
change
ladies and
court
gentlemen, we're gonna
reporters
take
because
a,
they've been
10-minute
typing
recess.
so
Please
long.
remember my
that-
admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Let's have it quiet in the courtroom, please.
Yeah, this is a
Believe
break
it or
to
not, the
change court
admonition is a very
reporters.
important and necessary part of the court proceeding each time. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you, or allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. We'll take a recess for 10 minutes. All right, Mr. Fung, you can step down. And Mr. Scheck, you may resume with your cross-examination.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fung, we left off with the video that is stopped at 1:18:17, 1:18:17:03. Now, where are you coming from? Do you recall?
Coming from the cage area in the dirt.
And where had you been in the cage area prior to
Hello, darkness, my
stepping
old
into view
friend.
here?
Sorry.
I don't think I was much deeper than 2 feet into the cage area.
And from the moment that you arrived at the crime scene to the point that we see depicted here, had you seen anybody else walk through that caged-in area?
Yes.
That's funny.
Detective Lang?
I'm not sure who, but I do recall people walking in there.
Anyone else?
That's really funny.
I don't recall who exactly.
More than one person?
Yes.
Now, you spent some time and had some training in taking shoe print impressions.
Yes.
And those shoe print impressions can be taken from soil.
Yes.
If there is an impression in soil, one can use a variety of techniques of casting to lift those shoe impressions from soil.
Yes.
Sir Mix-a-Lot, who
If
sang
there
the I
had
Like
been
Big Butts thing.
Some killer or perpetrator hiding in that rear of that caged-in area, that perpetrator could have left shoe print impressions in the soil.
Possibly.
And if you had arrived at the crime scene before people began walking into that area and had observed such impressions, you could have done a casting on them.
If some were there, yes.
And you have no idea whether any were there because people had been walking in and out of there before you arrived.
Sustained. Calls for speculation.
Were you able to conduct a methodical, systematic, unhurried investigation?
Oh yes, I feel that I must pause the video here to correct a mistake I just made. I was saying that Sir Mix-a-Lot was the dude with the clock around his neck. You are correct. It is Flavor Flav. I have mixed up my 1980s rappers. Please forgive me for that oversight. It was my mistake. As a middle-class white male, it is common for me to get my rappers mixed up. But in the meantime, let's read these super chats. Leanie says, "Where's my buddy Lean?" Also, where's the goat? The goat's not in attendance today. Less is more with the goat. Elmo is a brand name for projectors, and Elmo became a generalized brand, much like Xerox. I've never called an overhead projector an Elmo in my life. So, it must have been a thing somewhere else other than northern Utah. Len H, there has to be a heavy metal place in South Korea. There's lots of heavy metal there's lots of heavy metal places here in South Korea. You'll be there this year. Hey, you got to hit me up. Drinks on me. What? I'll be there later this year to get my Lifetime Achievement Award from the Tangsudo Federation. Well, congratulations. Wow. Also will be handed my 6th Dan. Wow. 6th degree black belt. That is pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, congratulations for that. Seriously, drop me an email, hit me up when you're here in town. We'll take care of you. Whether you're in Seoul or Busan, we've got you covered. Anybody that comes to Korea, let me know. Drinks on me. But that's a pretty big deal to be awarded a 6th degree black belt. Congratulations for that. I only have 2 first degree black belts, one in Hapkido and one in Guksul 1. And for just a random bit of legal vices thing, I mentioned it a couple of times before, but in 2000, I placed 3rd in the nation in the national Guksul 1 competition. So anyway, that's me. So congratulations on that. That's a big deal. Execution, thank you so much for the super chats. OJ pudding pie stabbed Nicole and made her die when Runchy Man came out to help. OJ cut his throat as well. No. Now, this could go 2 ways. This could just be nursery rhyme thing, or this could be like the bridge in Toto's version of Georgie Porgy off their original album called Toto. I kind of like how these I just never know where these streams are going to go. Today, we seem to have gone down a musical rabbit hole, which I think is fascinating. I just like how we just never know which way chat's going to go or what's going to happen during the chats here. That's kind of fun. Not on a stop changing your damn name and everybody that's involved in this. There's too many notes, knots, and whatever else is on planes that I can't keep them straight. Damn it, Jim. I'm a pathologist, not a doctor.
He's dead, Jim.
And Leanie, as Nylene, I appreciate your singing. All right. Let's get back to Mr. Fung. We've got everybody here. We've changed court reporters so we can dive back into the mess right now.
Of the soil in the caged-in area with Mr. Goldman's body in place as it was originally found.
No.
And that's what you have particular training to do.
That is one of the things I am trained to do, yes.
Now,
yes, Flavor Flav always had the clock.
What
That's
you
his
were
thing.
doing in that caged-in area just prior to the picture we see on the screen.
Detective Lang had asked if he could see the glove from Rockingham.
Correct.
And I brought the bag over to him.
When did he ask you to do this?
Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt.
Shortly after I got to the Bundy location.
And where were you situated when he came and made this request?
I don't know exactly.
Were you in the area where Miss Nicole Brown Simpson's body was at that point?
Where it was,
Yes,
or
you
where
said
it had
you-
been moved from?
Well, when you arrived, you saw her body.
Yes.
And you saw the, by this point, I think you've told us, the people from the coroner's office had turned her over.
She was, for lack of a better expression, being wrapped up.
Yes. And was at that point, did Detective Lang come out of this area and talk to you out on the sidewalk in front of this crime scene?
Again, I don't know the exact location where he requested seeing the glove.
You can't recall.
I don't recall.
But after he requested you to go to bring him the glove, that's what he requested?
He requested that, or he said he wanted to see the glove from Rockingham, yes.
And when he said, I'd like to see the glove from Rockingham, did you say to him, Detective Lang, why don't you come see it in the crime scene truck?
I told him that once I brought the glove to him that...
No, I'm asking at the moment he came and made this request to you, did you say to him...
That wasn't the question. Let the witness answer.
At the moment
No, I
he
think that was the
came?
question.
Ew.
Re-ask the question.
At the time that Detective Lang came to you and asked you to show him the Rockingham glove, did you say to him, Detective Lang, why don't you come see it at the crime scene truck? It's not a very good idea for me to bring this glove from Rockingham into the middle of the Bundy crime scene.
I didn't say that to him.
Did you say words to that effect?
When he wanted me to remove or wanted to get a better look at the glove from Rockingham, I told him that I would not remove the glove from the bag. It would have to remain in the bag. And if he wanted to see a better look of it, that he would have to see it in the crime scene truck.
Well, at the moment that he asked you to go show him the glove and bring it back into the middle of the crime scene, you knew that was not a very good idea, didn't you?
I knew that.
Vegas, a very good idea.
Okay, we need to paint a picture here.
I knew.
We need to paint a picture of what's going on. For those of you that may have been paying attention to the chat more than what's going on in the video here. The bloody glove has been collected from OJ Simpson's house, and it's in the crime scene van. But then the detective at Nicole Simpson's house wants to see the glove that was found at OJ Simpson's house. So he asks Fung to let him see it, which means he's standing in the middle of one crime scene and he wants Fung to bring evidence that was collected from another crime scene into the middle of the crime scene he is standing in. And that's where he's saying that is a really, really bad idea, isn't it?
That I would have to be cautious with the evidence.
Mr. Fung, you knew it was not a very sensible request, didn't you?
It's Vegas to which request.
Sustained.
Mr. Fung, when Detective Lang requested that you bring the glove into the middle of the Bundy crime scene to show it to him, you had concerns that there was a terrible danger of cross-contamination.
I knew there was a danger for cross-contamination, yes.
And you knew when he made that request of you that request was a basic violation of sound crime scene procedures.
I knew that I would have to be careful with the glove when I brought it to him, yes.
Well, when he made that request to you, didn't you say to yourself, it's foolish to even take a chance in bringing that glove into the middle of the Bundy crime scene?
He felt it was important at that point for his investigation.
Well,
That's not what he asked.
but you thought, when he made that request to you, that it wasn't a sensible request.
Again, as I have stated before, I knew I would have to be careful with the evidence.
Well, my question to you is a simple one, sir. When he made that request to you, you knew it was not a sensible request.
Your Honor, this comment's argumentative.
Sustained.
Did you think at the moment that he made that request to you, it was creating a risk of an unnecessary risk of contamination?
Same objection.
Overruled.
I knew there was a risk, but it was important to him at that time to further his investigation.
Well, when he made that request to you, didn't you believe it was an unnecessary risk to take? That he could have just come right back to the truck and see it?
Your Honor, it's been asked and answered.
Sustained.
Mr. Fung, were you in any way fearful of questioning Detective Lang's judgment when he asked you to bring that Rockingham glove right into the middle of the Bundy crime scene?
I was not fearful of him, no.
Were you in any way intimidated by him?
No.
Were you in any way reluctant to question his judgment, even though you believed it was a dangerous request?
I did have some concern, and I took what I felt was, I drew a line where I would not take the bag or take the glove out of the bag for him.
Well,
See, he's skirting around the question here. The question he's been asking for the last 5 minutes is, isn't it really bad that you would bring evidence that was collected at one crime scene into the middle of another crime scene? And rather than just say, okay, if you want to see the glove, come over to the van where the glove is. It's not smart to bring the glove into the middle of a different crime scene. But he says, oh, it was okay because I kept it in the bag. I drew the line at letting him take it out of the bag. What's in the bag? Right. We're not told we're trending vintage.
at the moment he made the request to you, you're now telling us that
we're
you
not
had
old. Okay.
concerns.
Sustained.
Did you say you had concerns at the moment he made the request to you?
Objection, Your Honor. It's been covered, it's asked and answered.
Sustained.
Did you express any concerns to Detective Lang at the moment that he asked you to go to the crime scene truck and bring the glove into the middle of the Bundy crime scene?
Same objection.
Overruled. Different question.
I'm not sure if I did. I may have.
You may have.
I don't know if I did.
Now, you brought the glove. How did you get with that bag that you have in your hand? That's the Rockingham glove?
The glove was in that bag, yes.
Well, how did you come not just to take the glove from the truck to the area of in front of the steps, but all the way in back, all the way into that caged-in area? How did that come about?
I don't know the exact route that I took. I probably came in through the same way I came in or exited.
Mr. Fung, did you ever collect a pager in the caged-in area?
Yes.
Could that shot with you with the bag in your hand be of the pager in the bag?
No.
No? You have a distinct recollection that you actually took the Rockingham glove in a bag, walked into the crime scene area, went into the caged-in area, and then we're coming out, as we see depicted in this shot, with the Rockingham glove in the bag.
Yes.
Are you aware that before you came here, Detective Lang testified that it was the Rockingham glove in that bag?
Objection, Your Honor, that's irrelevant.
Sustain.
I,
Sustain.
You don't know.
no, sorry.
Now, you're not wearing gloves in that picture.
That's correct.
So, as I understand it, what you're telling us is that when Detective Lang made this request to you, you
this is
resolved in
bad.
your own mind,
This
all
is
right,
bad.
I know it's dangerous, but I'll bring the glove into the area of the crime scene, but I won't open it up for him.
But I won't take the glove out of the bag.
Won't take the glove out of the bag.
Yes,
Had you resolved in your own mind whether you would even open it up?
I would open it up.
You would have opened it up.
Yes.
Did you open it up while you were in the crime scene? Have him look.
This is bad.
I don't think so.
Well,
Bad.
another thing about trace evidence is that sometimes it becomes airborne.
Sometimes.
Hairs and fibers that may get on clothing of people that are gathering evidence can become airborne. That's how the transfer occurs, right?
Theoretically, yes.
And weren't you concerned about opening up the bag with the Rockingham glove in the same area where people were milling around, gathering and handling the evidence at the Bundy crime scene?
Objection. That's not evidence.
Sustain.
All right. Weren't you concerned about taking the bag with the Rockingham glove and opening it up while evidence collectors were in the area?
I was, Miss Mazzola and I were the evidence collectors.
Well, there are other people there from the coroner's office who were in the area when you might have opened up that bag, right?
They were there to process the bodies.
Well, regardless of their purpose, there are people that could have trace evidence on their clothing which could become airborne.
Trace evidence is usually made through contact, such as rubbing one
Rubbing one out?
item against another.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I'm not, it can happen through airborne, but that's not the usual way for
Well,
that type of evidence to be
you're saying that
done.
in your experience and based on your expertise and knowledge, it's not a concern of yours that these hairs and fibers could be, that hairs and fibers can be transferred off people's clothing when they're moving around and fall onto other areas.
It can happen, yes.
And Detective Fung, weren't you,
Restate the question.
Detective, I'm sorry, Mr. Fung, weren't you seriously concerned that it was a unnecessary risk to open up that bag containing the Rockingham glove in the Bundy crime scene to give Detective Lang a look?
I did have my concerns, and I
Okay. To summarize this last 5 or 10 minutes, Detective Lang wanted to see the glove. Detective Lang is in the middle of the Nicole Brown Simpson home crime scene where the bodies are. He wants to see the glove that was collected from OJ Simpson's house, from the area behind OJ Simpson's house. So he asks Fung to show it to him. Fung had it in the evidence locker. So instead of saying, okay, Miss Detective Lang, you want to see this, you're going to have to come over to the crime van because I can't take something collected from one crime scene and introduce it into another crime scene. That would just be bad criminologist work. He didn't do that. He went and he took the glove in a plastic bag from the crime van, brought it to Detective Lang, and said, you can't take it out of this bag, but you can look at it, and I will open the bag. So what happens is Dennis Fung brings evidence collected from crime scene A into the middle of crime scene B key and opens the bag containing these, probably one of the single most important pieces of evidence in this case, literally opens the bag containing evidence from one crime scene while he's standing in the middle of another crime scene. And not only does he open the bag in the middle of another crime scene, he's not wearing his latex gloves. He's just got bare hands that may be contaminated with who knows how much other stuff. So yeah, this is really, really bad to have zero protective gloves, take evidence from one crime scene, bring it into the middle of another crime scene, open it up without any protective gloves or anything. Yeah, not good. And Alan has just gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. Thank you so much, Alan. That is incredibly generous of you. And those gifted memberships went to Samantha Shoelover, to Leanie. Leanie got a free membership. W. Daisy Girl Williams was gifted a free membership from courtesy of Alan. Not on a Plane gets one. And Danielle got the 5th one. So those 5 of you that just got gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships from Alan, please give him a hearty thank you. And Alan, deeply appreciate you being so generous. Let's get back to the Fung Factory.
I told you I was going to be careful if I did have to open up the bag.
Well, you're telling us now, is it your testimony you can't remember whether or not you opened up the bag?
To the best of my recollection, I did not open up the bag.
Oh. You're now more certain of that answer than you were just a few minutes ago?
Got caught again. And see, now the prosecution has to jump up and try to object to this. Just a few minutes ago, he said he doesn't know whether or not he opened it. And now fast forward a couple of minutes when he said, oh, I don't think I opened it. So he went from, I don't know if I opened it to I don't think I opened it in just a matter of minutes. BARRY SCHECK caught him. Now the prosecutors are now jumping up to try to save that answer.
Stay.
Didn't you tell us just a few minutes ago you couldn't recall whether or not you opened up the bag to have Detective Lang look in it?
I'm not sure if I...
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
And it's fair enough to say, isn't it, that if you'd done that, that would have been a mistake.
I wouldn't call it a mistake, no.
Well, wouldn't that be something that you were doing against your better judgment at the request of Detective Lang?
Ideally, the glove should have been looked at the
quiet
crime scene truck. Yes.
And isn't it true, sir, that you were reluctant to just tell Detective Lang, look, I'm not bringing it to the scene. Come look at it at the truck.
It's irrelevant.
Overruled.
Basically, you were scared of your
I
boss.
think I was reluctant, no.
You didn't want to tell your boss what to
and-
do.
At that Bundy crime scene, did you at any point have reluctance to question Detective Lang's judgment about what should be done in terms of gathering evidence?
Did I have... Yes. Yes, I did.
You were reluctant to question his judgment about what should be done in terms of gathering evidence.
I did question his judgment.
You did question his judgment. Could you tell us about when and how you questioned his judgment?
No, there are you always second guess somebody when you're going into a crime scene. You say, was this done? Was that done? And you ask them what was done and what wasn't done.
Can you tell us which questions you asked Detective Lang that, in your terms, were second guesses?
I asked him if he had looked for shoe prints in the dirt area.
And he told you he hadn't.
He told me he had looked for them but did not find any.
Well, I thought you were questioning, these are matters where you were questioning his judgment, right?
Well, I asked him, these were things I asked him about.
I'm asking you for things where you were questioning his judgment. Tell us about second guesses you made of Detective Lang.
Your Honor, I'd ask if the witness be allowed to continue his answer to the first question.
Have you finished your answer, Mr. Fung?
I forgot the first question.
You have the question.
Maybe we could, now, in this frame, do you recall where you're stepping?
Not exactly, no.
Did you have your hands out on the, for support on the gate?
No.
Were you able to see as you're walking with your head down, the position of the glove and the hat?
I was looking where I was stepping, yes.
And you were looking at the glove and the hat?
I don't recall if I was, what exactly I was seeing at that point.
Well, in that area, was there not the glove and the hat and the envelope that contained the prescription glasses?
Yes.
And I take it that the piece of paper that we looked at earlier was nowhere to be seen.
Again, from this video, I don't know what I was seeing at this point.
Okay. Other than, so you don't know if you were looking down at those objects at that time?
No, I don't.
And maybe we can,
Your Honor, before we do that, perhaps the frame number should be put on the record.
I think
I'm not sure what it was.
We did that.
Oh, it was done? This one?
Where are you going there? Do you recall?
I believe I was bringing the glove back to the crime scene truck.
And where is Detective Lang now?
He is still back in the cage area.
And do you know where he's standing in relationship to the envelope and the glove as best you can see it?
No, I don't know.
What are you doing now, sir?
I'm standing by.
Do you recall this moment, other than just seeing it here in the video?
No.
And you're now you just wiped sweat from your brow and were grasping your glasses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, do you recall whether photographs were being taken now of Mr. Goldman's body, various parts of it?
I don't recall.
Did you observe any of that process with respect to either Mr. Goldman or Ms. Simpson?
I don't recall seeing that, no.
You don't recall seeing that done at all?
I don't recall seeing actual photographs being taken. I know the photographer was present.
All right. Now, you're having a conversation and we're laughing with a few gentlemen there. Do you know what that was about? Do you recall?
No, I don't.
And that man in the red hair, in the blue blazer, that's Chief Forensic Chemist Johnson. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And at the time that Mr. Goldman's body is being moved now and Detective Lang is walking through the scene, you're looking back. Do you recall seeing the location of the envelope, the glove, and the hat?
No, I don't.
You should have said yes.
Okay, now you see Detective Lang walking back through as the body's being taken away. I think we can cut it now. Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. Now, have you ever heard the term close-in crime scene?
Close-in crime scene?
Yes.
No.
Well, did you ever have a discussion with Detective Lang as to his approach to gathering evidence at this Bundy crime scene on the morning of June 13th?
I don't understand quite what you're getting at.
Well, when you arrived at the scene, you had a discussion with Detective Lang about the crime scene and how to proceed.
He gave me a briefing as to the type of evidence that he wanted collected and what he felt was important and what areas were preserved. Yes.
Did he ever express the view to you that this was a close-in crime scene where evidence was close to the victims and that he had made a determination for that reason to remove the victims prior to collecting the evidence because of the fact that the evidence and the victims were close to each other?
I don't think he ever used that term close in crime scene.
Well, did he ever express the view to you that the reason that it was appropriate to remove the bodies before collecting the evidence is that this was a close-in crime scene, or this was a crime scene where, since the bodies of the victims and the evidence were close together, it was sensible to remove the bodies before collecting the evidence?
Objection irrelevant, calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. Did Detective Lang ever express the view to you that he thought it was appropriate at this crime scene to remove the victims prior to the evidence because the evidence was located close to the bodies of the victims?
He did not express that to me at the crime scene.
At some subsequent time, did he express that view to you?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was maybe a week or two later.
And that was on an occasion when you were having a discussion with him as to how he processed the crime scene?
Yes.
And on that occasion, did you express the view to him that it was extremely foolish to remove the bodies of the victims
Extremely foolish.
and drag it through the evidence at the Bundy crime scene before the evidence was collected?
Sustained.
Did you express the view to Detective Lang that in your judgment as a criminalist, the evidence should have been collected before the bodies were removed precisely because the evidence were close to the bodies?
I never said that to him, no.
Did you say anything to that effect to him?
Is Bob Newhart there? Yeah. Nice.
I don't recall if I did or not.
In your opinion as a criminalist, Mr. Fung, isn't it just basic, fundamental principle that when the evidence are close to the bodies, that it's better for the criminalist to collect it, photograph it, document it before you remove the bodies?
Yeah.
There are many ways to process a crime scene, and I do not know all the factors that went into Detective Lang's decision.
Well, when you arrived at the Bundy crime scene and had a discussion with Detective Lang, weren't you at all concerned that the bodies were being removed when they were in such close proximity to the evidence that you were going to have to collect?
Yes.
Now, we just saw a picture where you're standing there with Chief Forensic Chemist Stephen Johnson.
Yes.
He's one of your supervisors.
Yes.
And you were standing there with other detectives.
Yes.
And you were standing around this crime scene while Mr. Goldman's body was being removed from the soil caged-in area.
Yes.
And that opening between the gate and the beginning of the concrete stairwell is about 30 inches, isn't it?
Approximately.
And didn't you have profound concerns that in moving Mr. Goldman's body through that area, they were going to alter the condition of the glove and the hat and the envelope that was right against the tile?
Argument that this is profound concern.
Sustained.
Did you have a concern that when they were...
Counsel,
I'm sorry.
when I speak and rule on an objection, just for the record, let me finish before you launch into the next question.
My
Oh,
apologies.
Judge Ito's getting upset.
All right. Did you have a concern that when Mr. Goldman's body was going to be taken through this 30-inch area, that it could disturb, alter the prescription envelope, the glove, and the knit hat?
It's vague as to disturb, alter.
Overruled. All right, Mr. Scheck, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you just for a moment. We need to take a brief comfort break.
That means somebody in the jury or the judge has to piss, which is a good place to end today.
Mr. Scheck.
All right, so somebody in the jury or Judge Ito himself had to take a piss, so they had to take a break here, which is a good place for us to end the stream today. Again, like I said, this is a very slow crawl through this evidence and through this cross-examination. But these seemingly innocuous, boring, repetitive questions are going to come back and bite Dennis Fung in the ass so hard, days down the line, for us weeks and weeks down the line, that it's amazing. So it seems like it's going a little bit slow here, but the next few weeks it'll pick up. But these are all important questions because they're setting a trap for later. Let's burn through these last few chats here. Mr. K says, legal vices, you just jumped like 8 factors above your Korean counterpart. I don't know my Korean counterpart is. Andrew? I don't know why, but whatevs. Leany says, is that normal to change court reporters? Yeah, I mean, this was back in the day when they were literally typing out on their little court reporter machines, and you just get tired typing every word that everyone is saying for hours and hours on end. So I think they rotate out every few hours to keep them fresh. Mr. Legal Vices says, Mr. K, is there a video of you competing? I certainly hope not. I should tell a story of that competition someday. I think I could have taken first, but I was actually competing with broken bones in both feet. But that's a wild story to tell. It's fun. I should show my medals. I should bring the receipts next time and show my medal. Anyway, Winter Soldier says, Legal Vices Record Club, 12 LPs for just 1 cent. That would have been Columbia House, if I recall correctly. Columbia House was 12 records tapes for 1 cent, and RCA, I believe, was 6 records for 1 penny back in the day. Marv White, Buttermilk Biscuits, yeehaw, sir, thanks a lot. Here you go. Mr. Fung, meet Mr. Wang. Wang Fung, everybody. Wang Fung tonight. Everybody, Wang Fung tonight. Leany, is it normal to change court reporters? Yes, we just answered your question a second before that. And Girl of the Valley, it's oh so still. You're all alone and so peaceful until OJ stabs you. Nice Bjork reference there. Good Bjork song from It's Oh So Quiet. It's oh so still. How long was it from crime to trial? About a year, if I recall correctly. About a year. I could be completely wrong, but I believe it was about a year. Will Ferrell was on the defense team. It was Bob Newhart. Did Fung have a job after this? Yes, he continued with the LA Police Department for quite some time after this. People wonder how. I wonder how too, but maybe he learned his lesson and was really super good after this. Gosh, why am I getting stuffy? I'm getting stuffed up suddenly, so I guess now's a good time to end. We've got all the super chats out of the way, and Alfred Sparman is our newest member. Welcome to the Clean and Sober crew, Alfred Sparman. It's great to have you aboard. Now you get. Oh, we haven't done a members chat this month, have we? We need to line up a members chat. Thanks for reminding me by subscribing to the memberships. Let's see. We have one more super chat to track down here. Alfred Sparman, who is our newest member of the Clean and Sober crew. You're right. 1 out of 5 days is too little. Allow me to repent with this and what comes next. Gosh, I'm getting. I think I'm getting a cold. Part of the pants or prison thing. I got to wear pants in January, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that's what we'll. Yeah, my hot toddies were great yesterday. I felt really good today. Jeff, sweep the leg. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it here today. Well, they go take their comfort break. Judge Ito goes and takes a dump or whatever the hell happened. I think it was Judge Ito because Judge Ito was like smiling when he said we need a comfort break. But anywho, That'll take care of us for OJ until next Thursday. Let's get rid of the poll first here. Currently, we have 330 concurrent viewers, 376 likes. Our poll, if we can bring that up, we are. Let's see. Well, now I have an interesting thing going on here. Is it Alan Sparman's welcome to the clean and sober? There we go. I had to clear that out of the way. We have 391 votes, 376 likes, and 321 concurrent viewers. In last place in our poll was I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Jason Simpson didn't stab Ron and Nicole. That was 8%. Coming in third place with 18% is I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like OJ Simpson definitely didn't stab Ron and Nicole. Coming in second place, I stabbed the like button and subscribe button like Jason Voorhees wanted to stab them. Jason Voorhees, of course, being the evil dude in the Friday the 13th movie franchises. That was 20% of the vote. And winning the poll with 54% of the votes today, I stabbed the like button and stabbed the subscribe button like Fung likely wanted to stab himself. So that's the end of the poll. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we got a lot of stuff. We'll do a quick update on whatever is happening right now in relation to the Idaho hearings. And again, there's probably not a lot that's going to happen. It's a status hearing. We will probably set dates for bond hearings, things like that. Don't expect a great deal to happen. There's no cameras in the courtroom that are live. They may stream them after, but we'll see what it is. We'll address that tomorrow. And we'll talk a little bit about Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. Do a little bit of Dana White slapping his wife, maybe. We'll do some of that and see where we go. We got a lot of stuff to do anyway. And next Monday will be Maritime Monday. Next Tuesday, we will. I can't decide what I want to do either on Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going to do one of these two things. I think Tuesday we'll probably do a Uvalde update. There's been a video released of the sheriff, the chief of police who was in charge of the Uvalde elementary school shooting. An hour-long video of his was just released. And he says some messed up stuff in that video. So we'll probably review that video on either Tuesday or Wednesday. And also on either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending which day, we'll do our final review of videos, evidence. There's quite a few more interrogations and questionings that took place with regard to Sarah Boone's suitcase murder trial. So we'll catch up on a little bit more of that, along with autopsy report evidence and like a general follow-up on the facts. So I don't know what order we'll do it in, but next week we'll be having Uvalde, we'll be having Sarah Boone, we'll be having hopefully Law Pope himself, Nick Rekieta, will be on the stream. We're trying to work out dates and times. Being on the other side of the planet makes it pretty difficult to do that. So that hopefully that'll be happening during next week, where we'll be talking about love, dating, marriage, sex, and kink. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing during the next week. That'll take us up to OJ Simpson's next go round on Thursday. So everybody, thanks for being here. Any news on Stabarella? Courtney Clenny's next hearing is February 6th. So February 6th, they'll do an update and they'll probably set another hearing date. I would guess March or April is probably when Courtney Clenny Stabarella will be going to trial. It's 1 a.m. in Korea. Jeff's whiskey turned into a pumpkin. Yes, it is 1:14 a.m. as we speak. Let's see if there's anything else we need to get through here. All right, that kind of takes us up again. This is one of our slower, lower performing, both, viewership wise, like-wise, super chat wise, whatever. This is one of our lowest performing streams of the week. But it's a good thing because I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I'm just geeking out hard on this. And once we get done with Dennis Fung and maybe do a couple of other witnesses, then we'll have to find another retro trial to look at. So I have to consider what we're going to do after this. But we've still got a few months with Dennis Fung on the stand. Thank you all for being here, though. It's time for me to sign off and get some sleep. It's time for you guys to go about your morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. I want to first begin by saying thank you to all of the mods. Alan, thank you very much for being here. Valhalla Awaits, thank you for being here. Georgina, it is a pleasure to have you back after such a long time being gone. Welcome, Georgina. Xcomer Triple Z, even though you hate being a mod, screw you. You're a mod. Thanks for being here. Who else do we? I think that's all we have in the mod department these days, right here, right now. So thank all of you mods for being here. Those of you in chat, thank you so much for participating. We clearly have the greatest chat in the entire internet, if not the YouTube platform. Those of you that have us on in the background as you go about your day, driving around town, doing housework, working in the office, just have us on for background noise. Thank you for being here. You're an important part of this as well. I hope you have time to come back later, hit that like button, and if you haven't done so, smash that subscribe button. We currently have 33,046 subscribers to our channel. Can't wait till we get to 50,000, 17,000 more. It could take a while. It could take a short period of time. But when we hit 50,000, we'll have a 50,000 subscriber 24-hour drunk stream, or until I die. One of the two. So thank you all for being here. Deeply appreciate the super chats. Appreciate your participation. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. London, 10 p.m. Korea, and midnight Canberra time. Flux is here too. We have a Flux sighting, Mod Flux in the house. All right, ladies, gentlemen, Xcomer. Oh, we wacky me. All right, we're here. Take care. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Love you guys. And until we meet again, everyone make sure you enjoy your legal vices. Lorax out.